Let's do this review. Hey everybody, I'm Roy Cannaday.
I'm Chris Yi.
And today we're taking a look at Fire Nation Rising, based off of the Avatar The Last Airbender series.
The full name of this game is quite long.
Yes.
Avatar The Last Airbender, Fire Nation Rising.
And this is a re-implementation of the whole Rising system, which I think I've played a ton of different versions. I know I've played the Marvel one, I played the SpongeBob one with my kids, I played the Harry Potter one, the Star Wars one, and hey, now I've played the Avatar one.
So, someone once on the channel used to say, if you could retheme a game that many times, it couldn't really truly be thematic, right? But I was excited about this theme nonetheless.
It's kind of funny. So, but yeah, I guess before we get too much into our thoughts, let's let Chris tell you how you play.
Here's the setup for a game of Avatar The Last Airbender Fire Nation Rising. Players are playing this cooperative game as members of the Aang gang. You can control Aang, or Sokka, maybe Toph or Katara, or a mystery fifth character. If you haven't watched the show, go watch the show. It's really great. But there's 5 characters you can choose from of the 4 different bending styles, the elemental magic, basically, and which is represented by the dice colors. Players are going to be trying to work together to recruit new heroes to their team, defeat villains, all for the purpose of moving up this balance track by accomplishing these objectives. Once they reach the top of the balance track, they'll face the final 3 battles. They'll come out onto the board over here. And if they can roll these dice combinations to defeat these battles, they will get a reward. And once having all 3 of them done, they will win the game. Players will lose the game if 10 of the heroes take too much damage and then are discarded. If 10 of them, or 10-ish, depending on the player count, or more are lost, the game is done. Or if an entire team, if one entire player's array, their team is defeated, then they will also, players will collectively lose the game. So how the game works is as follows. On a player's turn, they will gather their pool of dice, as shown on their main character card, plus any other heroes that they might have on their team. They will assign where they're going to go. There are 3 places they can go to. So in this case, Sokka's going to go over here to the Fire Nation area. They will draw a Fire Nation leader card. And this is going to tell us 2 pieces of information. First, which direction Fire Lord Ozai, the statue here, is going to rotate or stay in the same direction, in this case counterclockwise. And then also how many steps up the ruin track they're going to move. An analog to our balance track is the villain's ruin track. As they move up here, this will cause harder things to happen to us, for us to lose cards, basically. Now that the Fire Lord has pointed towards this area, all heroes in that kingdom are going to take a damage by putting a cube onto those slots over here. If a player was in that area as well, if Sokka had gone over here, then all of his team members would take a damage as well. But since he was over here, he's in the clear. If there are any villains in that area as well, they would activate with another nasty effect that would hurt us in some way. Now, on a player's active part of their turn, they're going to take their dice pool and roll them, and they can assign these dice out to the characters here to try to recruit them, to the villains that are here to try to damage them, or to their own special abilities. So for example, Sokka could assign this double strength waterbending symbol here, you see a little 2 in there. To try to recruit this card, he could apply this airbending symbol here, and then he's got a waterbending symbol. Then he could re-roll if he wanted to. You can assign out to different cards. If you don't have something that you can place, you will remove 1 die and then continue to re-roll until you have something that you could place. When you resolve the dice next, if there are heroes out here, you will recruit them. If they had damage on them, you would heal them up, and they would join your team either to the left or the right of existing cards that are on your team, and that matters for different adjacency purposes and such. If you assign any damage to a villain, then you will get a Pai Sho token. The Pai Sho tokens here are extra little benefits like rolling extra dice, maybe having a guaranteed die face that you can spend on any player's turn, or other special abilities like healing damage or an extra reroll. So these Pai Sho tokens can come in handy, and you'll place them here by your character area. The last thing you can do on a turn after resolving everything is you can try to move up the balance track. If you met the conditions here or can pay for them in die faces or by discarding Pai Sho tokens or something, you can move up the balance track, getting closer towards that end game trigger. Once these come out, once you're at the top there, these will be in the regions, and then as you assign out to an area, you continue to do all of the normal Fire Lord damage and everything. The ruin track will be removed from the game once either one of you reaches the top, and then you're in the end game. You have to try to roll these die faces to complete it. If you are able to do all three, you win the game. If you lose too many heroes or a whole team is wiped out, then you lose, and that's Avatar: The Last Airbender Fire Nation Rising.
All right, so Fire Nation Rising. This doesn't stray too far from the normal Rising system of all the other games, but I do enjoy like some of the new things it does add to the table, and I actually really like the aesthetics of the game as well.
So I'm a big fan of the show. You've watched it as well.
I have, but it's been quite a while. I've watched all of the regular Avatar and the Legend of Korra or whatever as well, so I've seen all of it, but it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been maybe 2.5 years ago we watched the whole thing as a family, and so I was more interested in this going into it than, say, like a SpongeBob one, and honestly even more than a Marvel one, because there's plenty of Marvel stuff out there now, but there's not a lot of good Avatar: The Last Airbender games. Unfortunately, Oh My Cabbages, I think, is rated like a 3 on Board Game Geek.
That. I've seen that before, and I think most of the time these style games or whatever, or like Avatar style games would be like a cash grab sort of thing. But, I mean, I know the system for Rising, and, I mean, it's cooperative. You're chucking dice, you're trying to get characters, you're trying to not let the bad guys destroy you and not have too many of the characters die off. It doesn't really break the mold too much, but there's a few small things, like the fact that there's the tracks that the villain is running up, as opposed to, like, with Thanos, you have the different Thanos stones. I think they change up a little bit in each game.
Hashtag Thanos stones.
Yeah, in SpongeBob, they're like destroying the Krusty Krab and stuff like that. So it's like, but yeah, it's interesting. And then in this one, you get down to that final showdown where it's like, what is it called? It's like the Moon Day or whatever is it?
The Day of Black Sun, and you have the three battles out there. Yeah.
And then there's the 3 cars, and you have to kind of finish those off, which is a different change for the game, and that makes it kind of interesting. But I just like the dice chucking in this. It's like Yahtzee style, and it's simple. It's along the lines of something like Elder Sign, but simpler. Like you can play it like family weight Elder Sign, you know?
I was going to say, this is the first one of the Rising games I've played. You've played I think every single one of them.
I think I've played every single one, which is kind of crazy. I think I wouldn't even say that I'm like a fanatic about it. Just because of the job here, I've ended up playing them all.
Yeah. So this is the first one that I played, and this is honestly the first one I was actually interested in, because I like dice chucking. I like light, fun little dice chucking co-ops. Elder Sign is one of my favorite games. If you like that, and if you like this theme, I think that is going to work. There are... you go around to the different places, collect heroes, put them in the line and stuff. There's not too many rules. There's a few little things here and there, like make sure that your team has to be, you can only add to the left and to the right, and so you want to make sure to get the adjacency. It adds just enough that your decisions kind of matter. You're like, oh, I'll go for this one first because I want these adjacency boosts and stuff.
And the Rising games have always had the interesting thing of like, okay, that character's going to combo better with your setup, so I'll leave them for you, and then I'm going to work over here and get this, and what do we need to prioritize? I enjoy cooperative games that add that element of actual co-op, where it's like, oh, I think we should go take out this villain first. Okay, yeah, you jump on that one. I'll take out this guy next, or I'm going to try to get this hero to beef up my team so I have more dice. And the fact that when you defeat villains, you get tokens that you can share with the other players. Everything like that I love in cooperative games. But yeah, I don't think you need to like play the Rising games in any sort of order. They're all kind of whatever. Whichever theme you like best, you can probably go for. And if you really enjoy Avatar, I mean, I think I'd recommend this to people.
Yeah, those tokens being specifically Pai Sho tokens from the show that have like a fun little meaning.
Right.
You could enjoy this game without knowing the show, but if you have watched it, and if you really like it, you're saying, it's Combustion Man! Like, that's an exciting moment. And it does the theme really well without feeling cash grabby, and without being so thematic that it creates rules buckles along in the way. I think that this is a really good game for fans of the show, and I think it is a solid little fun cooperative game. I feel like some of the rules could have been tightened a little bit.
Right.
Like there's a few questions like on that balance track. Oh, I thought they did a good job too of there are 6 different balance tracks. The good guy track you can move up of 3 different difficulties. That's good
that's cool.
for variability and stuff. on a lot of them, the rules setup page, for example, says put that marker, the cheap, crappy little cardboard marker, on the bottom space. And then you have to accomplish the symbol shown on the next space to move up it. But there's a symbol on that bottom space already.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so you're like, well, what is... You got to look up, like, what is that? Do you not do something? Is that a bonus? Is that a negative at the start of the game? And it's, you know, I mean, there's
just a little bit of ambiguities or whatever in the rules.
Yeah, so it's not a perfect product, but I think that this is a wonderfully fun thematic product.
And I do think it's hard to find too many like good animated themed games, you know, because I don't know, people are here or there on whether or not that Avatar is actually an anime because it's like American made, whatever.
Right.
But it has that feel and it's like popular in that culture as well. It's just really cool to see a game that's solid in that, you know.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm going to give this a 7. It basically gets the same thing as the other Rising games. I know I lavished on it and said how I like it a lot. I think this is a fun game as far as cooperative games and stuff go. And as far as like the Rising stuff goes, I think it's enjoyable. If you like Avatar: The Last Airbender, definitely you should check it out.
And I'm right there with you. I also give this a 7. You know, is it one that I want to play all the time? I think there's other good games in the genre that I would rate a little bit higher. But for the fact that, you know, my kid loves that theme, loves that show. I love that show. I want to rewatch it every once in a while. So awesome. A good game with that theming and those fun little nods. Absolutely. I could recommend this for sure. So a 7 from me as well.
I have friends that really enjoy this that are casual gamers. I'm definitely going to be bringing this to game night to teach them the game, and that'll be a lot of fun. So
Exactly.
anyway, I've been Roy Cannaday.
And I'm still Chris Yi.
And been that air.
Did I do it right?
I don't know. Something like that.
Form 7.